Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Your Relationship With podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Snow. I'm a business relationship consultant for female entrepreneurs, and I love helping women grow businesses that they love. I do that in a couple different ways. I host a monthly virtual speed networking event that is super fun. And in it, we network like bosses, not like weirdos, and I teach you exactly how to do that. If you want to join us, the link is in the show notes. It's totally free, and I know you're going to love it. The other thing I do is run an amazing community for female entrepreneurs called the Powerful Women Rising Community. There is everything that you need in that community in order to grow a business that you love, surrounded by some incredible women. So if you want to know more about that, I will put the link for that in the show notes as well. Without further ado, let's dive into today's episode, because today I am interviewing Kim Guillory on your relationship with the mind-body connection. And I just love this topic because I am not a woo-woo person. So if you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds like a lot of woo, I'm turning it off, don't turn it off yet. Okay, I am not woo. However, in the last year or so, I've worked with my own coach. I call her my soul coach, and I'm going to get her on this podcast one of these days. And I become a little bit more woo. But one of the things that I love about it is really diving into the relationship between your thoughts, your feelings, and your body and your soul, and how small tweaks in one of those areas can change things in all of those areas. And so today's interview is a really, really powerful one. Kim Guillory is an integrative mind-body coach and a business mentor specifically for healing-focused entrepreneurs. She helps mind-body coaches, massage therapists, and practitioners improve their practice and grow their business using a proven success strategy. And she's going to share some of that with you today. So here's my interview with Kim Guillory on your relationship with the mind-body connection. Hello, Kim. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm
super
excited.
Me too. We too. I have this really bad habit of chatting with people before I hit record, and we get into like all of the juicy good stuff. And then I'm like, okay, I probably should have been recording, which is exactly what I did with you. But we will find plenty of juicy stuff to get into today. So before we dig in, tell everybody a little bit about you, who you are, what you do.
All right. My name is Kim Guillory. I am a integrative mind-body coach and business mentor for healing-focused entrepreneurs. I know that's a mouthful. I kind of had to coin phrase that to clump people into this certain little category so that they would know who they are. So basically, I do mind-body coaching. So I started off as my life coach career started off as a cosmetologist. So learned all those things behind the chair. But then I officially became a health coach, life coach, business coach, and hypnotherapist, massage therapist, and I integrated all of that together with yoga and meditation. And so I call it integrative because we're integrating your past experiences plus your skill set and your desire to serve. And so that you can be the unique person in the market. In other words, we want to brand your uniqueness because we do have a lot in common, but we don't have everything in common. And the thing that separates you or your experience that differentiates you is your niche. And so it's really finding that and bringing all parts of ourselves to our business.
Oh, I love that. You're like I knew you were going to be like a breath of fresh air. For people who are listening, who don't know what a mind-body coach is, can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. So through my own personal experience, I had a pretty long self-healing journey, and I had lots of surgeries and diagnoses and years of medication. And then had this, what you could call awakening to holistic health. And that took me on a whole other journey. If I could put it into who my mentor was, it may make more sense, but it was Louise Hay, like 20 something years ago.
Awesome.
And really understanding that the symptoms that materialize or manifest in the body are actually coming from the mental and emotional self. And so it's connecting the dots. So you could say reading the symptoms and then diving into the root cause, releasing the root cause. So I call it like pie. It's getting present and processing the unresolved issues, and then integrating the experience, the emotional experience we didn't have, and then embodying what you are today or what you want to be today from this perspective. So integrative is, how do we bring all parts of ourselves, including the lost parts? And so this is coming from the subconscious work. It's fascinating where we find the 7-year-old and the 4-year-old and the 3-year-old, and they haven't left that experience. And so they're looking for that inner guidance, and part of it is missing. And so then we look to the world and look for all the gurus, right? And the leaders to tell us what we need, and we can't find that inner wisdom. So mind-body coaching is the awareness of how it's physically showing up in the body, using the cues and hints to connect the dot, integrate what was left behind, embody the new perception, and then to use coaching to move forward for the actual behavior and habits.
Oh, I love that so much, because what you and I were talking about, one of the things you and I were talking about before I hit record, was there's so many coaches and programs and teachers that are teaching one thing, right? Like, change your thoughts. It's all about thoughts. It's all mindset. And then there's others that are teaching like, it's all about the body, heal your body, or all about energy or whatever. And I love what you do is really bringing it all together, because it all has a part to play in the big picture of how we're living our lives, how we're growing our business, how we are showing up in relationships. So I think it's super cool that you bring all of that together in one piece.
Yeah, it's really fascinating when, like, I see it from like tapestry, like the threads that weave in. And once I got that vision and really understood it, I was like, oh, like how we do anything is how we do everything. Oh, it's here. It's also there. Like, so it was like, oh, let's just connect the dots. So my own personal journey, which a lot of it came through relationships, right? Trying to figure out how to stay married, how to keep clients, how to not have your kids hate you, all of those things. And so I think relationships are the glue. So that's why when you had this invite to come, I'm like, absolutely. And my own personal journey, through that experience, I remember in yoga when I first entered my body, oh, I've never been here. I'm home. Like, whoa. That's really where I started like bringing those parts and pieces, because it was unsafe. It was unsafe to experience. It was unsafe to feel it. It was unsafe to think about it. Right. And so we just kind of like buried it back there. So some of it is unconscious, completely don't even know we did it, right? This is where narcissist behavior comes from. It's like anything to protect it so it never comes up. And then we have what we have suppressed. So what we consciously, I'm ashamed of that. Let me hide it. Let me make sure no one ever knows about it, right? So we have the unconscious, the subconscious. Then we have just our habits and behavior, what we need to, we all live somewhat in an oppressed life, right? Would you agree? No matter what, it's like there is a part of us that cannot be seen. It is unsafe.
Absolutely.
And so that actually reinforces the lack of integration, because it's not safe. The brain's like, it's not safe to integrate that part of us. They shouldn't know about that. Then they will judge, right? Because we live in a mean girl society. And it's all about labels and separation and who's better or who's here or who's deserving or who can't sit at this table. And that has been probably the biggest pain point for me, is to have this vision and to be able to see, like, if you can separate person from habit and behavior, everything will change.
Yeah.
And so as I moved into this, I was doing a lot of private yoga. I was Thai yoga certified. I'm not sure if you know what that is. I am a Reiki master. Like, I really started bringing the parts and pieces together. And as a massage therapist, I was able to see it and experience it on the physical body. I mean, a massage therapist is more intimate with clients than a doctor.
Yeah.
And if you've been in the business long enough, you will start to see the patterns and the habit, and then you'll start to connect the dots. And if you can just connect it, if the client's open to it, if you can just connect it, then the physical conditions, and then they can just come and enjoy a massage instead of always working on the same area, having the same problem. And the cool thing about TMS, which is the mind-body syndrome, is that it skips. So it's like you get it here, then it's going to be in the knee, then it's going to be in the foot, then it's going to be in the low back. So it's like you almost kind of think you're just broken. But
why is it always something?
Yeah. My awakening moment was my granddaughter. coming out of the bedroom, the spare bedroom, and she had a neck brace, the knee supports, 2 of the wristbands to want the metal so she couldn't bend, with crutches and an ace bandage. And I'm like, oh my God. Those were all my supports back in the day. I mean, talk about, she's just doing it from playfulness, with the bandage wrapped here and here. And I was just like, woke me up. And I realized, and I was able to put all those pieces together. That was she's actually in high school now. So it's been a while. She's a junior in high school. She was a little kid. And I couldn't unlearn. Once I started seeing what was happening in the body, and I have a particular interest of when it's happening in the entrepreneurs, because to be vulnerable and open takes a lot of courage, right? To be transparent. You got to bring all of you. You can't bring parts of you. You can't be successful. I mean, you can, but you can't. Soul wise, mind, body, spirit, when you do all of it, and you got parts of you hidden, in the cellar, down there, no one can ever know about that. And then you're overcompensating here. The body ain't going to let you get away with that. It's going to show up in the body.
Yeah.
And so I actually don't think thoughts are a problem, but that comes from my yoga meditation practice. Thoughts are actually release. Thoughts are a good thing. They are releasing energy from the body. Sensation is also releasing. So in the act of meditation, it's allowing the thoughts to be, allowing the sensations to be, and staying present instead of distracted. But what do we do when we're doing mindset work? It's all about the thoughts, all about thoughts. So we're just buying into that distraction. And so we're not actually getting to the root. We're not doing the integration process, and we're not embodying the new. And so it kind of drives me crazy to be able to see so much of it and to be sitting back here I'm but it's so misunderstood, right? Because it's not I wouldn't say there's a lot of people talking about it, right? Would you? I think it's kind of the way that I see it is like a pie. So imagine 4 quarters. Okay. It's just split in 4. And the mind goes to psychiatry. It's everything about the mind, about the behavior. And then you have the physical, and that goes just to the regular general practitioner, doctor, right? I got this pain, fix it. Here's the salve or the Band-Aid or the medication. So now you have psychiatry taking care of the mind, mental health, and you've got your doctors or the healthcare system taking care of the physical part. And the religious part, the spiritual part, it goes to religion or the gurus or the whatever that approach is that you take, whether it's atheist or not. But it's there's a place to go to, depending on your beliefs. What is not in that's mainstream is the emotional body. And so I was doing all these other things to try to fix this. And so once I saw it over and over and over and over with clients, and I was doing the mind body coaching, I was coaching clients, and then my clients were getting such big transformation. They were like, I need to know how to do this. I need to help other people with this. And so we just brought that component on board. And so now we have the understanding of here's the mind, here's the body, here's the emotional aspect of it. And then there's energy. And so when we can bring all those pieces together, then you have a holistic, right? It's like mind, body, wellness, whole body, wholeness. Whew. All the symptoms, illness, disease, chronic pain, because those things will come up as an entrepreneur. When you go to put up the post, most of the time we go into mental paralysis. And then we're like, don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I can't move. I just can't make myself do it. Right. Or we go into this shame after, just oh my God, did I just say that? Did I just do that? And then we have this emotional flush, and then that shuts it down. And if you're going to go onto the stage and you're going to speak to hundreds or thousands of people, this stuff is going to bubble up. So entrepreneurship or business is the catalyst. You don't have to go digging for it. We don't have to go into past lives. We don't have to go into all that stuff, because it's right here. It's right here. We don't have to go digging. It's as soon as you position yourself to grow, to do something new or different, bloop, 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 we can connect the dots, integrate it, release it, and embody and take the next step. It's an experiential process though. So that's hard to sell. You can't really put that in a package and then take the $1 million marketing approach and go sell it, because it's so deep. It's layers and layers and layers of understanding. So the poster behind me, I can take you through probably in 90 seconds, take you through the process.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So you see it. So the very top is, it starts with a vision. So we're talking about relationships. I'm going to start with, I'm going to get married. I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to lose 80 pounds, right? Whatever that journey is. You're like, I saw someone who did it. I want it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one is, you choose that vehicle. How are you going to get there? Maybe it's Weight Watchers. Maybe it's the no diet approach, like if we're talking about diet, but we can also do it in business. Like, oh, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to be a massage therapist. I'm going to have a fitness center, or do like me and do all 12. This happened every single time, by the way. That's why I came up with this. The third step is establishing authority. Like, I am trained, I am certified, I know what I'm doing, I have a skill set, I have a license, right? Boom, branded. Now you're the storefront. I'm the example, or I'm the promotions or the advertisement for the thing I decided. I'm going to try to stay with business since we're talking business, but I can relate it if you have any questions. Okay. So you're branded. Now you're going online. What happens? Imposter syndrome. Always, always.
Yeah.
Because you spend so much time convincing yourself that you actually start convincing others. But once you have the affirmations and the understanding, and you've embodied the belief of who you are, right? Once you're branded as, are you convincing anyone of anything? No, you're just being.
Right. So
you don't attract all the questions and all that. That's where the imposter syndrome comes from. It comes from inside of us. So we don't feel certain. We don't feel confident. We don't feel sure. And so what do we attract? Let's go to Abraham Hicks. What do we attract? Proof of what we're thinking. People will start questioning you. We're talking about the Jesus robe and the label. You'll have to start defending your position.
Right.
It's embodied. The next thing is a shift in physical health. So once you've got the mental stuff going on, now it's physically showing up in the body. And I can go through the whole, what that looks like. The feet, plantar fasciitis. It's like that fear of stepping forward. The hips is like the inability to thrust and go. The knees and the supporting ourselves, like it all shows up. Fear is in the kidneys. You'll see all these things start coming up. And then the next thing is, you got all that together. You're like, okay, whoo, not even the same person, right? Because I've had to go through all that. Guess what happens at home? You're not the same person.
But everyone at home is.
It's like when you leave a retreat, you go home different, and you try to take them on the journey that you went through in retreat. They can't. The mind cannot imagine what it hasn't experienced. And here we are trying to convince people of our experience. My favorite phrase is, I'm willing to be surprised by what my mind has yet to imagine or experience. Which means I want to be open to exploring and tasting life. And I don't want to be limited by my mind. I sure don't want to get stuck in my thoughts being a problem. Okay. Then what's the next thing? A shift in finances. Couple of things happening here. You're not making the money, which that brings up a whole crap load of conversation. Not sure if I can cuss here.
You can.
Oh, where's all the money? Where's all the money we put? Where's all the things we did? Where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money? Either that's happening, or you're actually making the money. I went through both, by the way. You're actually
equally scary.
And what happens? You start getting a little snarky comments about, oh, it must be nice. And, you're now doing all these things and so I think of it as like, we're on this vibration together, this frequency. And then when one changes, the frequency is very subtle. The frequency changes and you keep trying to get it back, but you got to go down to get it, or they got to come up to get it. Which one's easier?
Going down.
it's so natural. I think of the crab pot where they're just all stuck at the bottom, and then one starts rising up, and then everybody starts like, it's little snarky remarks. It's never like a conversation like this. Like, I really miss who we were. It's not the same because we have a problem with communication. So it shows up as imposter syndrome. It shows up in the physical body, that's where the mind body coaching comes in. It shows up in the relationship, and it shows up with your entire environment when your finances change. So either you're being ridiculed about, you thought you would make it. And so now they're hitting on that imposter syndrome again, right? Like, I just invested 20,000, 10,000, 15,000. I'm not getting it back. And so all this stuff is like coming up. Your nervous system is fired. Now you're frozen in paralysis, and you're just like throwing money at problems. They can't help you unless they have this understanding. You go through all of this, and then you have that moment of, I did it. Maybe it's 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, whatever. But there is a moment of the money finally caught up with the intention, which it always will. It's just that all this other stuff gets in the way, becomes a distraction. And then you got to fix all these problems along. So it's like having a bunch of little fires. And so right here, it's this soul alignment. Oh, love it. It's finally. And then we kind of like, I ain't doing that again. I am not putting myself back in the fire. I know what that's like, right? So we want to just ride that wave. Unfortunately, the cycle continues. And even if you stay with the same goal, the next round, it's going to come up again because there are things left behind. I think of Mercury retrograde. That's the beauty of coming back to clean up the stuff that didn't get cleaned up, or Chiron's return, when it's like healing the wounded healer. It's like, okay, there's some stuff left over, some residue. So these issues come back up. We clean it up. Whoof, embody. We kind of go through the journey again. But right there at the top before the last one is when you become the vision. So you get on the stage, you make the money, you get known in the industry. There's a moment of like, oh, we are married. We're past the fourth year. We do have a baby. This is going to work. It's like, okay, we just had to go through that ride.
Yeah.
But then life never stops changing. So we're presented with we want another baby. We want to make more money. Maybe we realize we're not meant to be together, and we want a separate, no matter what. It's just moments in time. But if we have the vision of what's happening, then we're not so distracted by all those little things and trying to fix those little things. And we have the understanding that there's a part of us that's not in belief yet. So you're like lip service and saying it, but then you're not actually like taking a line to action, because there's an aspect of you that's pulling back. And so you're trying to go forward and it's pulling back. What happens if you take even a paper towel and you do that, right? It starts shredding and ripping. That's the physical body. Half of me going, half of me not going, parts of me going, parts of me not going. And so I think of it as like the soul is so much bigger than us, right? It's like, and I have a heart of service. I work with people who have a heart of service. And there's this bigness, I'll say, of like, we're all connected. It's a whole, like innately we know that. Would you agree?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. And then we've been taught to what? Hide, close, go in. Look, everybody puts the heart back and puts the shield on and protects. So now you've given like the intention, like, yes, we're going to go do it. There was one moment in time where you were brave, said you were going to do it. And so here's the soul coming, like ready to go out and play. And then and so now imagine the body, it's got this ripping that's happening. So the joints, the tissue, the muscles, the cells, memories inside the body, feelings buried alive, never die. So it's suddenly exposed. And this is the dissonance between the two. The part of you that wants, the part of you that's scared. I think of a litter of kitty cats. Like you got 6 kittens and they were born under the house, and there's 5 that came out, and there's one part of you still under the house. So for the most part, you're on social media. For the most part, you're talking to people. And then there's an aspect that's scared to come out. And what happens when you get close to that kitten under your house? What happens? Like, And if you don't know how to handle it, you try to throw things at it, or you try, right? Scaredy cat.
Or you just pretend like it's not there.
Yeah. But then what happens? You come to the edge and you look at everybody else doing it. You look at your little brothers and sisters, they're all playing and they're eating and and you're like on the edge, just wanting it so badly. It's so painful. It's so lonely, just like an entrepreneur, just like a leader. You want it, you can't, you connect it, you're not like, that's how I viscerally experience it. Because that's what it feels like. So that's the analogy that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
And so it's up to us, and having a practitioner who can hold the space for this, which I now have like 50 mind body coaches that I've trained. And I call it advanced mind body coach or advanced coach training, because it's going beyond the mind, beyond the model, beyond thought work, because the experiences are in the cells of the body. So I call this a samskara in yoga. A samskara is a scar on the energetic body. And that's that visceral experience. So you're having this wound that's open, that's not, and we try to bypass with mindset, and you can't bypass, because then the nervous system locks up. Now your neurology is all tangled and you can't take the action. You got to take the action in belief.
Yeah. So having somebody who understands all aspects of that, the mind, the body, the spirit, the energy, the emotions, to kind of help you unwrap whatever it is going on. What's that?
And business.
And business.
Like, you really have to understand that we're having an experience in the material world. And so for the healing focused entrepreneur or the soul driven individual, it's really hard. Because there's an innate part of us that knows that we're all connected and we're doing this for each other. But then the mind and the headspace and the bro marketing and the flashy money is like triggering that wounded part. And then you got FOMO and you've got all the, you see what I'm saying? Like and so when you have that 360 view, which is what I think mind body coaching is, it's like you have the 360 view and you can see all that and you can guide the client like, whoa. This part's come back. You were so close, right? And staying there in safety. It does not feel safe when someone's telling you it's your thoughts. I'm like, listen, asshole, I told you what I know. It's my thoughts. You wouldn't even know if I wouldn't have told you.
Right.
Like, I was so frustrated. I was like, I am very aware of that. And also further than that. Yes. And so when we can understand our neurology, which is, yes, our thoughts, the way that we think, the way that we feel, or more importantly, don't have the capacity to feel. That's where mind body coaching is. We have to create the safety so that they can begin to feel, so that they can trust themselves. And without doing that, you're just making them codependent and dependent on you. And like, it's really not about like client retention. It is about empowerment.
Yes.
Give them the tools. Don't teach them the model. Give them the tools.
100%. I love that.
So it's like the neurology is the mind, the body, the spirit. And then like, think about it, like even outside of us, you can walk in a room and feel what's going on in a room. The subtle body is out here. And then the organs are holding the emotional imprint. So no wonder we're removing the gallbladder and having the hysterectomy and taking the tonsils out. Most of this is coming from the inability to speak. Most thyroid disease is coming from the fear of being heard. So when you can connect, it's so hard to undo that. Yeah. Once you can see it so clearly. And like we had a boot camp, a belief boot camp in New Orleans, like the beginning of this year in January. And every single person that talked about it after said, I was mesmerized by the client's facial and body features changing. without putting them into hypnosis, without taking them into, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like going all there.
Mm-hmm.
It was right here in conversational style that completely shifted
Yeah.
their beliefs, their understanding, because they were empowered. They had the information that they
Mm-hmm.
needed to make it click, to connect the dots, to move on. And then you use coaching for habits and behavior. But without this part, which I have a whole process on this and I have a book on it, but it's the levels 2 and 3, the steps 2 and 3. There's 5 steps to the whole process. And it's the unpacking, unveiling to understand the unconscious so that you can unlearn the patterns.
Mm.
And
Okay.
then the pivot, the navigate, the change. So it's the new action. Everything's with the ends. If you can think of the letters, that's where you change the neurology.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you change the neural pathway. And then you create the future vision. And then you take the steps. That's where the coaching comes in. Can you see the picture? So
For sure.
very
Yeah.
frustrating. And they'd be stuck in the bypassing of just change your thoughts.
Yeah. And I think so many of us, I mean, I definitely did because I didn't even know that first step existed or the first 2 steps existed. So we just skip that.
That's
And
actually the second and third. There's a first.
Oh, the second and
The
third.
first is a P. So it's just presence. It's like the presence is the awareness. So it's like the pausing, the pulling into the body. Think about the P. Presence.
Oh, yeah. I skipped that one too.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Like we're here. You're safe. We're here. It might look like tapping, breathing, breath work, yoga, fitness, going for a walk barefooted, talking to a friend. First, we got to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes pulling the mind down and then pulling presence into the body, You can do it really quickly just by squeezing your toes.
Mm-hmm.
You're there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mind's going to pop out. I want to know what was next. What was next? What was it? Right. And it's a practice. Everything's a practice. Another P. You got to practice being present, being here, being here. Once you're here, now you can unpack so that you can start unlearning.
Mm-hmm.
You can't unlearn without knowing what it is. What's that unconscious message?
Yeah.
And then the navigating and the neuro. But what we're trying to do is do this first.
Mm-hmm. And then we're like, why isn't this working?
Why isn't this working? I know it's so painful. It's so painful because I'm like, I have like when we would talk about the motto, I was like, that's the motto. It's a tool of awareness. This is the manual of how to change it, how to gain power and control of your life.
Yeah.
And your life is part body and it's part soul and it's part relationship. I think we got off the relationship topic.
It's okay. So good. This is so good.
So it's like, I think of it as the law of attraction in action. Like it is the actual how, like all of the processes.
Yeah.
Because once you can navigate the behavior, now you can create curiosity. I wonder what else. That's where you can ask the mind, I'm willing to be surprised what else is possible beyond. And then that is where the law of attraction comes in. That it's like, but if your clients, whoever's listening to this, cannot feel, that's why they're frustrated. They
Mm-hmm.
checked out of the emotional body, or it's missing on their pie and they didn't know it existed.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody's just been coaching them on the other stuff, either being the spiritual being, staying on the side of the road, waiting for God to come put gas in your car and calling it manifesting, or changing your thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
or going to the doctor and fixing the symptoms. That's all great. I have nothing against all that. But if you don't have the core piece and the ability to work that piece, you're always going to feel like there's something missing and you're always going to be throwing money at the next shiny thing.
Yeah.
And so I just set the intention, like I'm just going to go on a mission to teach about the emotional body, create a process that anybody can use, take them through the experience themselves. Because the problem is the coaches haven't had the personal transformation and they're trying to give it to someone else. They don't have it. They don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're just using the tool that they were taught, but it's incomplete.
Yeah. Amen, sister. I feel like we could keep going on this topic for a couple hours, but we won't today.
I know. We do like entire 3-day trainings on this stuff.
It's so fascinating. So if people are listening to this podcast, they want to know more about what you do, they want to dig in more to this mind-body connection, maybe find out about your book. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
My podcast is called More Than Mindset.
So good.
So we also have a free Facebook group called More Than Mindset. Free, absolutely free. I have a YouTube channel. That's my name, Kim Guillory. So I'm either More Than Mindset is, if you're into Facebook, that would be the place. If you want to listen to a podcast, I start at the beginning. Just start at the beginning of the podcast and go all the way through. We talk about all the patterns, emotional signature, regulating the nervous system, regulating the body, like all of that stuff in the earlier seasons, especially. KimGuillory.com is my website, but I would start with the free stuff just because, it's years. We're on like episode 220, something like.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Good
so
for you.
It's been a few years.
Yeah.
And I went through all of this myself because I was bringing something new with my own language into the market that I don't have the badge, I don't have the Jesus robe, and yet I'm called to do this. So I'm like, well, how do we explain that?
Yeah.
And so I went through all the physical stuff because I was scared. I was like, they're going to burn me at the stake. The doctors are never going to see me again. Everybody's, it's like all that crap that we hear. Who am I to do this?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you are doing this. It's so important. And it's really, like I said, it's a breath of fresh air in the coaching world. And I know for many entrepreneurs who are listening to this is the missing piece of why they feel like they're banging their head against the wall and nothing's working. So thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I will put all of those links in the show notes so people can check out. I love your podcast. I listen to it all the time. I'm in your Facebook group. So check out all of the things. And Kim, thank you so much again for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Thank you so much for listening to the Your Relationship With podcast. If you liked what you heard, we would love for you to subscribe and leave us a review. If you want more information about the Powerful Women Rising community or about our monthly virtual speed networking event, check out the link in the comments. We'll see you next time.